How are we doing, everybody? Thank you very much for coming back to the channel. Now, in the world of mixed martial arts, there is always lots to talk about. We've got Gilbert Burns coming out saying that Kamaru Usman would be the GOAT over George St. Pierre. We've got Misha Tate taking it on stitches. We've got Rampage saying crazy, ludicrous things about the UFC. And I'm going to break it all down. However, there's a lot to talk about, a lot of topics. But of course, we've got Brad Tendo in the house. He's going to team me up on these things. And we're going to give you a little mini MMA wrap up. Brandon, how are you, my friend? First of all, how's things?
I'm doing well, man. It's nice that you're back from the UK. It's cool to get right back into things.
Well, it's good to be back as well. So, without further ado, what is the first thing at the top of your list, please?
All right, so pretty much the breaking news that just happened today is Kevin Lee was cut from the UFC after being suspended for the Adderall thing.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's a shame, isn't it? I forgot about the Adderall thing as well, because the reality is, I believe he's lost 4 out of his last 5 fights. Last time we saw him was against Daniel Rodriguez. Kevin Lee's a great fighter. He's finished some great guys. He's been in there. I mean, last time he knocked out Gregor Gillespie. I mean, what a fight that was. I mean, what a beautiful head kick. Knocked him out, an absolute vicious knockout. The man's got knockout power. He's got great wrestling. He's a good athlete. He's exciting on the microphone. But unfortunately, he's on a bit of a losing streak. And when you lose 4 out of your last 5, it really puts the UFC in a difficult position. However, I hope Kevin Lee can make a rebound, okay? He's still a young man. He's still under 30, I believe, 28 or 29 years old. So it's not necessarily the end of the road for Kevin Lee. Maybe we see him come back. Maybe he goes to another organization, gets a few wins, and then comes back and he's back in the UFC. I'm always so impressed when I see somebody do that, and I hope to see Kevin Lee back in the UFC one day, Brandon.
Next, we have Rampage Jackson says that the UFC should be worried about Triad Combat, which is the combat in a frickin' triangle.
Yeah. So if you don't know what Triad Combat is, at the weekend, Triller Fight Club put on this event in a triad. They're calling it the Triangle. Okay, trying to do something new. They're trying to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. So they're trying to, they did it in a triangle, and they had some good fighters in there. They had Frank Mir, they had Mike Perry, they had a bunch of people in there, and of course, I think we're going to see Rampage Jackson, former UFC light heavyweight champion of the world, a fan favorite as well. Rampage, everybody loved him back in the day. He's taking on Shannon the Cannon Briggs in a boxing fight. Shannon the Cannon, very, very well-known boxer, big dude as well. Saw a lot of social media of Rampage and Shannon going back and forth last week. Rampage is a big man, and right now he's even bigger. I'm talking width-wise, not necessarily height-wise, but whatever. But Shannon is way bigger. Just in fact, while I'm talking, Brandon, just look up the height difference between them two. But yeah, they're going to fight in the triangle. And in the triangle, I mean, that is just crazy. Ooh, UFC has the octagon. What can we do? And I know we did this. They're trying to reinvent the wheel based on the geometry. I did a video on that recently. Now Rampage says that UFC should be worried about the Triad event. Hey, good for Rampage. He's clearly got in bed with Triller, and good for him. By all accounts, Triller paid people a lot of money. I hope that Rampage goes out there and makes a ton of money. He's an exciting fighter. He's got a great personality. He's been good for the sport of mixed martial arts, and I hope he earns a lot of money. However, that said, I doubt the UFC, Endeavor, Dana White, I very much doubt that they lie there in bed worrying at night that Triad Combat is going to put them out of business. I mean, listen, Rampage is trying to say the right thing to support the new endeavor that he's involved with. But come on, let's be honest. UFC, Dana White is not giving a shit about this.
Let me ask you this, since we're on the topic. Do you think that Triad, or just Triller in general, being around is good for fighters? I mean, they have a place to go after the UFC? Or do you think with the freaking booking that they've been pulling off, it's actually bad for MMA fighters? Because they're putting them up against professional boxers at this point and kind of setting them up to lose. So do you think it's good to have Triller around, or do you think it's bad for the sport?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, it's definitely a watered down product, and it's certainly not combat sports at its finest or its highest. However, as you mentioned, I'm always happy when I see fighters with somewhere to go, right? Fighting is such a hard, vicious sport that you have to dedicate 100% of your being to it, okay? There's no backup plan. When you're a fighter, it almost chooses you. You know what I'm saying? So you put everything into it, your heart and your soul, and you're not thinking about a backup. So when fighters unfortunately come to the end of the road of their career, when they get cut from the UFC, I'm always happy for them to have somewhere to go. So in that respect, Triad or Triller or whatever else these organizations are, good for them, because I like to see fighters being able to go out there and make money, pay the bills, and stay happy, you know, and do what they love to do. You know, not everyone can stay in the UFC until the end of their career. Not everyone can stay with the best organization in the world. Okay, you're going to be certain special to do that. But I'm always happy to see them go ahead, continue to make money, to be happy, you know, pay the bills, all the rest of it, like I just said. So in that regard, I think it's a good thing. You know, it's always a good thing in that regard. So yeah, anyway, moving on. I have spoken enough about Triad fucking Combat for one night. I was starting to lose the flow there, Brandon. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, Triad, Triller.
Triangle.
Shoot me in the fucking face, please. What else you got, Brandon? Make it a good one.
All right. So Gilbert Burns says that he thinks Kamaru Usman is the GOAT, and he thinks that he would bet against GSP in a matchup between Usman and GSP. So the question is, who's the GOAT?
Yeah. I mean, listen, you know, I understand Gilbert saying that. Why? Because Gilbert just got beat of Kamaru Usman. Anytime you get beat, you want that person that beat you to then go on and be extremely dominant, because then you can say, oh, look. He beats everyone. And now for Gilbert, you can say, this is the pound for pound #1 guy on the planet. Of course he beat me. It's an interesting question. And I do believe it's a question that's going to be asked for quite some time. The reality is we're never going to get to see George St. Pierre versus Kamaru Usman. It wouldn't be fair on George either. George is almost 40 years old. He's been retired for a while. Obviously he had a layoff and he came back and fought me and beat me, of course. Kamaru Usman's in the prime of his life. So this will always be a hypothetical conversation. But if you break it down hypothetically, and we're about to do that, let's take a look at it. In terms of size, Kamaru's the bigger guy. In terms of power, I would probably say Kamaru's probably the stronger guy. Striking, let's go wrestling first. Wrestling, I'm probably going to say that Kamaru Usman probably looks to be, on paper, a stronger wrestler. He's certainly a bigger guy. Wrestling credential-wise, he has actual wrestling credentials, whereas George learnt to wrestle for his mixed martial arts career as well. So far it's leaning towards Kamaru. Striking, whilst we see Kamaru going out there and certainly seems to have knockout power, that knockout of Masvidal springs to mind, absolutely phenomenal. I think when it comes to diversity of striking and mixing things up, that's where George has an advantage. He came from a karate Kyokushin background. You know, he was always a phenomenal striker. He had a lot of great kicks and things like that in his arsenal when he started his career. Towards the end, leaned on the wrestling a bit too much. But still, when it comes to striking, I think I'd give George the edge there. Certainly for diversity, probably for speed as well. But power for Kamaru. Game planning, that was always something that George was an expert at, okay? But let's be honest, with Kamaru Usman, with Trevor Whitman in tow, I mean, you know, they're two great minds for the sport as well. So it's hard to say. But just like Gilbert Burns says, Kamaru beat him, so therefore Kamaru's the best. Well, George St. Pierre beat me, so therefore George St. Pierre is the greatest of all time. Simple as that. Enough said, Brandon.
You've probably had tons of stitches in your life. Misha Tate recently put out a video of her taking out her own stitches. Have you ever done that? And does it hurt like hell?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, first of all, I have had many stitches in my face. I used to be a pretty good-looking guy back in the day, believe it or not, before all this this fight career that I have. Many scars on my face. Of course, with scars come stitches. And honestly, I don't think I have ever once, and I'm not saying this about me, I think most people do take out their own stitches. I mean, every time I ever got stitched up on my face, on my arm, wherever it was, I always took them out myself. All you got to do is, because it kind of dries up, the stitches are there, you just snip, you just cut them with a pair of scissors. If it's in a weird spot, I'd get my wife to do it. She'd get like the little nail scissors out. She'd cut them out and then just pull them out with some tweezers. Easy enough. On the flip side, you're going to give up an afternoon of your life. You're going to go down to the hospital or to the doctor's office and get them removed. I mean, it's all healed. It doesn't hurt. So yeah, I mean, Misha Tate got some props for that. And fair play to Misha. Always happy to see that. But yeah, I think that's, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's commonplace for most fighters.
All right. We'll end on a few notes about Khabib. So, I mean, talking about good endeavors post-fight career, Khabib is opening up a new MMA organization. I believe he bought the organization for $1 million. What do you think of this endeavor, and do you see it panning out well for him in the future?
Yeah, no, the Eagle promotion or Eagle Fight promotion or something like that. Good for him. It's great to see, and no doubt Khabib's going to use that as an avenue to help promote some people from Dagestan. One would have thought, obviously he wants to put on a successful promotion from a business standpoint, but I think it's an important thing for Khabib coming from Dagestan and helping people out in that region of the world and to be as successful as they can be. And I think that's a beautiful thing that Khabib is doing there. So well done to him for doing so. You know, I think they've got the first promotion soon in America. And in fact, what was the thing about Dana White? There was some quote about Dana White out there, I think.
Yeah, so Khabib says, I want to be just like Dana, only I want to save my hair.
Well, there you go. I mean, God bless him. Well, no offense to Dana, but I don't think anyone's hoping that they go bald, you know. Saying that when I used to shave my head, I used to think if I went bald, it would save me a lot of time. Anyway, wants to be just like Dana. Of course he does. Of course he does. I don't think there's a single person that gets into promoting fights on the planet that doesn't want to be like Dana White. You know, I'm not here to kiss Dana's ass, but he is the most successful fight promoter of all time. There is no promotion on this planet that comes remotely close to achieving what the UFC have achieved. You know, they've revolutionized mixed martial arts. They've taken it to a completely new level, and they've given thousands of people all over the world, like me, many people, men and women from every part of the world. He's changed their lives, changed my life. You know, and as I say, from every corner of the world, there's people's lives that he has changed. Khabib's trying to obviously get involved. I think he's trying to replicate that. But from what I hear, he's trying to, you know, really have a Dagestani or from that part of the world, a heavy influence there. Because he's trying to give them an opportunity to change their lives as well. And that's what the UFC is doing already as well. So, yeah, it's great to see. I mean, Khabib is flourishing in his post-fight career. As a coach, he's doing incredible things. Islam Makhachev is one of his main proteges, shall we say, and he's just been signed to fight Beneil Dariush. Of course, that's a great fight. The winner of that, no doubt, will go on to fight for the belt, but there's a whole backlog of things going on there. I would assume that Justin Gaethje is next for the title fight there, but still I'm going off on a tangent, and that's all going to be done in another video. Brandon, anything else for me?
Yeah, we'll wrap it up with this. Another note on Khabib. Khabib says his former opponent, Dustin Poirier, beats Charles Oliveira because Dustin Poirier has more cardio and a stronger heart. And I bring up that question because a lot of people seem to be doubting Charles Oliveira's heart. So where do you stand on this? I mean, Khabib did formerly fight Dustin Poirier, so maybe he has a better stance on this. But what's your opinion?
Well. I mean, again, it could be because Khabib beat Dustin Poirier, and anytime you beat someone, you want to say, yeah, I beat him. But most people don't beat him. I'm pretty special. That's why I beat him. But still, all jokes aside, I think the reason they're saying that Charles Oliveira has no heart is because he's been finished. I think most of the times, and I could be mistaken, but I think every time he's lost a fight, he's been finished. So one could maybe draw an argument or draw a conclusion, pardon me, that perhaps he has no heart and he looks for a ways to give up. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's maybe what Khabib is getting at here. Maybe that's where that's his thinking here. What I do know is that on the flip side of that, Charles Oliveira also has the most submission victories in the history of the UFC. Charles Oliveira also knocked out Michael Chandler, something that Justin Gaethje couldn't do in that incredible fight. And Charles Oliveira is the undisputed lightweight champion of the world. And that is a title that is very, very hard to achieve. Something that Dustin Poirier has never had. Something that Justin Gaethje has never had. And a whole litany of other fighters. So just be careful underestimating Charles Oliveira. But still, there you go. That was our little mini MMA wrap up. As I say, I just got back from England. I'm still getting over the jet lag. I was awake for about 4 or 5 hours in the middle of the night last night and kind of pissing me off. So Brantendo dived in at the helm, helped me out, teed me up on a few subjects. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. We really, really appreciate you. We got some big plans. We've got a new show coming soon. So stay tuned for that one. But still, thank you very much. Be sure, ring the bell, subscribe, all that good stuff. And until tomorrow, take care.